If you've ever walked away from a conversation feeling confused, second-guessing yourself, or weirdly guilty for something you can't even name, this video is for you. Because today we're talking about the easiest way to tell if someone is playing you. Not manipulating you in some dramatic movie villain kind of way. Not twirling a mustache evil. I'm talking about the subtle, everyday kind of playing you. The kind that makes you doubt your instincts while they quietly get exactly what they want. And here's the thing. Most people think spotting manipulation is complicated. They imagine they need to decode body language like they're in an episode of Lie to Me, analyzing micro-expressions and hidden tells. But in real life, it's way simpler than that. You don't need to be a human lie detector. You just need to pay attention to one core pattern. The easiest way to tell if someone is playing you is this. Their words and their patterns don't match. That's it. That's the whole secret. Anyone can say the right things. Words are cheap. Words are strategic. Words are often rehearsed. But patterns? Patterns are honest. Patterns are habits. Patterns reveal intention. Someone who says they care about you but consistently disappears when you need them? That's a pattern. Someone who promises change every time you're about to walk away but never actually changes? That's a pattern. Someone who tells you that you're overthinking or too sensitive every time you bring up a valid concern? That's a pattern too. And patterns are very hard to fake long term. When someone is playing you, they rely on your focus being on isolated moments instead of consistent behavior. They want you to think in snapshots, not in timelines. They want you to remember the one amazing date, not the 3 weeks of silence. They want you to focus on the apology, not the repeated offense. Think about how people defend toxic relationships. They say, "But they can be so sweet." Or, "You don't see the side of them I see." Or, "They had a rough childhood." All of that might be true, but sweetness isn't a pattern if it only shows up when you're pulling away. Effort isn't a pattern if it only happens when there are consequences. Someone who is genuinely invested in you will show consistency, not perfection, not flawless communication, not mind-reading levels of emotional intelligence, just consistency. Now let's break this down a little deeper. When someone is playing you, they create emotional confusion. You're always trying to figure out where you stand. One day they're all in, the next day they're distant. One week they talk about the future. The next week they act like you're asking for too much by wanting basic clarity. This push-pull dynamic isn't random. It keeps you hooked. It keeps you working for their validation. It keeps you chasing the version of them that feels amazing when it shows up. And here's where it gets even more subtle. If you find yourself constantly explaining away their behavior to your friends, that's data. If you rehearse conversations in your head before bringing up simple needs, that's data. If you feel anxious more often than secure, that's data. Your nervous system notices patterns before your brain does. You don't feel confused because you're crazy. You feel confused because your brain is trying to reconcile two realities, what they say versus what they repeatedly do. This is where people start gaslighting themselves. They think, maybe I'm expecting too much. Maybe I'm too needy. Maybe relationships are just hard. And yes, relationships are hard, but healthy ones are not chronically destabilizing. When someone is playing you, accountability is always temporary. They'll apologize beautifully. They'll say exactly what you need to hear. They might even tear up. But the behavior resets. The cycle restarts. The same issue returns in a slightly different outfit. Real change shows up as sustained behavior over time, not emotional speeches in heated moments. Another major sign is selective effort. Watch when they try. Do they put in effort when it benefits them? When they want something? When they sense you're pulling away? But go quiet when things feel secure again. That's not growth. That's maintenance of control. And let's talk about future promises. Someone who is playing you often sells a future version of the relationship that never quite arrives. They talk about trips you'll take, milestones you'll hit, how amazing things will be once things calm down. But somehow things are always just about to get better, not actually better. It's like being sold a trailer to a movie that never comes out. Consistency over intensity, that's the filter. A person who floods you with affection, grand gestures, and high emotion early on can feel intoxicating. It can feel like something out of the Notebook. But real life isn't built on cinematic spikes. It's built on steady presence. Intensity without consistency is a red flag. And here's something that might sting a little. If you feel like you have to earn basic decency from someone, you're being played. Respect is not a reward. Communication is not a prize. Loyalty is not unlocked after completing enough emotional side quests. When someone values you, you won't have to strategize your personality to keep them interested. Now, does this mean people can't be inconsistent because of stress, trauma, or personal struggles? Of course not. Humans are messy. Life happens. But here's the difference. Someone who isn't playing you will communicate through those struggles. They'll acknowledge when they drop the ball. They'll show effort to repair and improve. And over time, you'll see upward movement, not the same cycle repeating. A person who is playing you benefits from your doubt. A person who is serious about you benefits from your clarity.